It's still shocking to me that there are people who don't think the threat of the coronavirus is serious. It's still shocking me that people are questioning whether or not anything is really going on, because that would imply that Donald Trump himself is in on the conspiracy. Now, for the most part, there have been many conservatives raising the flag, raising warning flags very, very early on. Tom Cotton, notably, saying we got to get a handle on this banned travel. We had our first death in the U.S. February 29th. We had 889 deaths yesterday. That's 37 people dying every hour. So yes, based on CDC estimates, we are now in the mid-range of where the flu would be based on their estimates. A lot of people are wondering why it is there's so many hospitals that aren't being overloaded. And there's a few important points to be made. There's no visitors, so you're not going to see cars in the parking lot. These hospitals aren't necessarily in hotspots, and they're preparing because people don't seem to understand what an exponential growth is. I'm going to show you the graphs, but the most important thing right now is for everyone who doubts this. Look, everybody, if you hate Donald Trump and you doubt this, then you need to pay attention to what the doctors are saying. And if you like Donald Trump and you doubt this, then you need to pay attention to what Trump is saying. Now, the Daily Mail adds something unnecessary, saying Trump finally accepts reality. President warns America next 2 weeks will be very painful, as expert warns of 100,000 U.S. deaths, but says he wanted to give people hope when challenged on why he took so long to sound the alarm. I think it's fair to say that he was downplaying this a bit early on. And I've been critical, but I don't want to say that I'm, overly harsh. I thought he should have been a bit more serious and stern, but I understand it. When Donald Trump announced that there would be a travel for, he was restricting travel from people coming from Europe, they said he was inciting panic and that he caused the market to fall. So there's no safe way to do this. I do not blame. Look, you know what, man? I don't know who else could be president. I don't know how good of a job they could have done. We can speculate all day and night. And of course, people who hate Trump are going to pretend that anybody else would have done a better job. I don't know that. And I'm not going to speculate. What I can say is this is an act of nature. As far as we know right now, our best bet is that this is an act of nature. The virus emerged. It started spreading. Now, I think China is to blame for the most part because they could have stopped this. We could have gotten a handle on this very early on if they didn't lie and withhold information. The whistleblowers who got arrested, all of these people. So I'm not going to blame the president for what's going on. Now, a lot of people don't like the fact that he downplayed this. I can understand why. But you got to understand the president can't induce panic. If he comes out and says it's a very serious, dangerous thing, we're worried, people would have been freaking out. The market would have taken a hit. People would have lost their jobs. They're talking about a rent strike. It's a very dangerous and difficult position to be in. But now I think I am more worried about the impact we're going to face here in the U.S. more than I've ever been so far, even with everything we've seen in foreign countries. And I'll tell you the reason why. Donald Trump he's essentially pulled down the curtain. He's straight up saying, you know what? I wanted to give people hope, but it's going to get bad. And in these next 2 weeks, we are going to lose thousands of people. We lost 889 people just the other day, March 31st, around 37 dead per hour. So yes, let's read the story. And we've got news from some other countries, and I got some news on the border security. Trump is going to be ramping up border security. President Donald Trump has acknowledged the sobering reality of the sheer number of deaths America faces from coronavirus. He defended his earlier upbeat statements about the coronavirus as the outbreak began its march across the globe this year, explaining during a briefing that he tries to be a cheerleader for the country. Trump is trying to defend his prior statements on the coronavirus, even as his team tries to prepare the nation for a death toll and other impacts on the public and the nation's medical system that are set to explode. The administration released charts showing some of the possible outcomes and rebranded their initial 15 days to slow the spread as 30 days to slow the spread after the initial 15 ended Monday. He also warned Americans to brace for a hell of a bad 2 weeks ahead, as the White House projected there could be 100,000 to 240,000 deaths in the U.S. from the coronavirus pandemic, even if current social distancing guidelines are maintained. Trump called it a matter of life and death for Americans to heed his administration's guidelines and predicted the country would soon see a light at the end of the tunnel in a pandemic that the United States has infected more than 189,000 people and killed about 4,000. According to figures compiled by Johns Hopkins University. I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead, Trump said. This is going to be one of the roughest 2 or 3 weeks we've ever had in our country. We're going to lose thousands of people. Is Trump lying now? To the naysayers, the people who hate him, is he lying now? Or is he finally on board? The Daily Mail says he finally accepts reality. And I don't think that's necessary. We don't need to play these games. Now is not the time. If you want to drag Trump for not, being more serious early on, then you need to point out the media wasn't serious either. Many Democrats were doing literally nothing. While Trump was actually getting started, the Democrats were focused on impeachment. I'm not super concerned about all of that when talking about the actual crisis right now. Of course, on my main channel, I talk about politics, and that's my political channel for the most part. When we're talking about what's going on with the coronavirus, we need everyone, Democrat, Republican, left, right, whatever, come together, because this is going to get really, really bad. And now you've got Trump basically on board with the worst possible projections. We really believe we can do better than that, said Dr. Deborah Birx, the coordinator of the White House Coronavirus Task Force. That would require all Americans to take seriously their role in preventing the spread of the disease. Added Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's top infectious disease expert. This is a number that we need to anticipate, but we don't necessarily have to accept it as being inevitable. I'm not about bad news. I want to give people hope, Trump said. He brought up people who said he was advocating let it rip, let it ride, and do nothing, that he says would have resulted in 2.2 million deaths. Trump, who has championed himself as a wartime president due to the outbreak, said during his daily White House briefing, "We lose more here, potentially, than you lose in world wars." He added that 116,000 U.S. citizens died in World War I, 405,000 deaths in the second. They don't say U.S. citizens for the second one, so I think it's total deaths. The president's comments come as the number of U.S. infections rose to more than 189,000, with over 4,000 fatal victims of the deadly disease. The rising numbers are beginning to dwarf the 2,996 people killed during the September 11th, 2001 attacks. It was an abrupt reversal for the Republican president, who spent much of the last week targeting April 12th as the day he wanted to see Americans pack the pews for Easter Sunday services. Come on, let's be honest. If there is no light at the end of the tunnel, people freak out and things fall apart. We need to make sure the system keeps functioning and what little bit is left of our economy functions so that the hospitals can work. But now we're hearing that many of the frontline hospital workers are going to see a pay cut. You know why? Because the economy is shut down. These hospitals can't just magically pay people, and doctors and nurses need money too. Now, I will say this is the biggest slap in the face for the universal healthcare people when you start to realize how much we struggle to maintain this healthcare system as it is, especially in an outbreak. You've got New York offering up, their emergency services to illegal immigrants, and I'll make sure I'll stress that we have to treat them, pragmatically, because we want to stop the spread of this, but also because they're human beings. We must save their lives. It's a moral imperative. But we have to reconcile after the fact that we cannot be the world's hospital. We can't guarantee everyone access to hospitals. It's just not possible. And we need to wonder why these people are coming here in the first place. We know why. But we can't just say, you know what, we're gonna leave it be and let you stay, because soon it'll be look, if Trump is saying 100,000 to 240,000 people are gonna lose their lives, we are going to see a reckoning from the left, the urban left. We've already seen them rushing to buy weapons, and now they're gonna start asking questions about why their loved one, their friend, their family member was not able to get an ICU bed or was being treated in the hallway. We're seeing these videos emerge now of some hospitals in New York, I believe it's New York, where they don't have rooms. So they're putting people on ventilators and beds in hallways. And when you show up with your family member and they say why, they're going to ask why. And people are going to look to this news and say, why were we giving our healthcare system to people who are not citizens? And then people are going to demand action. I think we are going to see a hard turn right, 100%. It is so easy to be a social justice leftist when you live in a safety bubble. Trump also acknowledged he was probably distracted by the Democratic impeachment, which culminated in his Senate trial in early February. So basically, Trump here goes on to say that he doesn't want to think he was distracted, but he likely was. He was thinking about it, and he doesn't think he could have done a better job with or without it. That is a lot of credit for Trump to give to the Democrats. I got to say, Mitch McConnell said we were all distracted by this. The impeachment was a hoax, waste of time, blah, blah, blah. I don't think he said hoax. Trump said that. But for Trump to say, no, even with the impeachment, I did the best I could. And even if there was no impeachment, I couldn't have done any better. He's given a free pass to Democrats. They wasted our time. At a time when he was talking about this, whether he downplayed it or not, they were impeaching him. I'm going to show you a chart here because they show us, we've seen the flat and the curve charts, but now they put some numbers on it. So I hope you understand why the numbers are so different. If there's no intervention, they project 1.5 to 2.2 million dead. By flattening the curve, 100,000 to 240,000 dead. The reason is The mortality rate is going to be exceptionally low in the US because we have excellent healthcare in this country, especially relative to other countries. But if we run out of space, we run out of beds, then you will see the mortality rate spike because people can't get treatment. So moving down, I want to show you actually, I'm going to show you this. This is this is a hoax to this is a real pandemic, the changing of tune of Donald Trump. Trump never said this was a hoax. He said the politicization of it was a hoax, that the Democrats were claiming he was doing a bad job, and that was their new hoax. Of course, many in the media weaponized that against him. We can see this. Around January 31st, he said, we pretty much shut it down coming in from China. It's going to be fine. We then see on around February 26th, we're going very substantially down, not up. And then you can see it actually start spiking. And Trump keeps saying, I don't need to have the numbers double because of one ship that wasn't our fault. They're calling him out saying he's been downplaying this. And you know what? He did. He absolutely did. Was it the right move? I don't know, but he did. Now, to be fair, what were the Democrats doing at the same time? Nothing. So I don't know what you expect. And the media at the same time in mid-February was saying everything was going to be fine. So, criticism to go around for everybody, but now is not really the time. Check this out. What people don't seem to understand about this is exponential growth. And this is why it's so frustrating for me to see all these people saying things like, you mean we only have, 4,000 people who have died so far, but the flu kills, 20,000 people every year. Why don't we shut things down for that? So the CDC estimates, depending on which source you use, range from 12,000, 24,000, or as high as around 50,000 in a year, spread out with estimates. Right now, we are seeing an exponential growth. On March 10th, there were 5 people dead. By March 31st, on March 10th, 5 people had died. And by March 31st, we had 889 die, and that's in a single day, for a total of 4,076. It was February 29th, the first death occurred. In about 1 month, we have seen 4,000 people die, and the number is going to exponentially increase. And you know what? A lot of really stupid people are going out and partying and ignoring this. It's you guys. That's why we're being locked down, and that's why people are dying. I don't know what else you want to hear, but take a look at how, March 16th, we had a few thousand cases. By the end of the month, we had 189,510. I don't know what people expect. I don't know what you want to believe. I mean, you've got Trump on board saying it's going to get really bad and it's going to be some of the worst 2 or 3 weeks we've seen as a country. So I don't know who these people are on Twitter casting doubt and refusing to accept this, because it's strange to me. Like we've seen it. It's happening. Like I know I'm hearing from friends of friends, or my friends are telling me about the people they've seen affected. We've had people come on our live show Super Chat saying like, I got this. It's bad. Even in the Donald Trump forum, the Donald.win, there's people are saying like, my uncle got it, my dad got it, my wife got it, and they're talking about it. Yet for some reason on Twitter, I still see people saying like, I don't know about all this. Doesn't seem to add up to me. Why? Like, why are people so hellbent? It's like Trump's approval ratings through the roof because of this. So I don't know why people are so hellbent on denying what's really happening all around us. It is bad. It is. Now, we saw a video from Project Veritas the other day. Facebook actually took it down. This is psychotic, but surprise, surprise. James O'Keefe of Project Veritas went to New Rochelle and got tested. And he had some people say, one National Guard say it's just like the flu. Some doctors say, some people have like a mild cough, it's not so bad, but then others get really sick. Yeah, welcome to reality. Most people will get mild symptoms, and then there are a decent amount of people who are going to die. What people don't seem to understand is how percentages work. If 500,000 people get this and they don't really notice or have mild symptoms, does that make it acceptable that, 20 or 30,000 people lost their lives? No. 4,000 people are already dead because of this. Does it make sense to collapse the entire economy for 4,000 people? That's a tough question, because it's going to get worse than 4,000. It's going to go up. Absolutely. This is called exponential growth. You see how many people died in a single day? It's going to get worse. And the next, like today is probably going to be even worse. So the question is, you can talk about shutting the economy down right now, and we have 4,000 dead. Was it worth it? I mean, shutting down the economy could result in people losing their lives. It could result in these hospitals shuttering and not being able to pay people. So that's a bad thing too. How do we maintain this system while preventing deaths is a very, very difficult question. Well, let's move on from here, because we can look to the future to see how it's affecting other countries. In Spain, they see its highest number of deaths for a second day in a row, 864, as the number of cases tops 100,000. So we're doing a bit better I believe in the mortality rate. Like the percentages of people who die relative to who get this the numbers are lower in the United States. We have great healthcare. Spain is a smaller country, and they're seeing 864 deaths. So yes, the U.S. is worse. Yes, the U.S. is dealing with the most deaths. But if you were to compare the U.S. to the entirety of Europe, would make more sense. In which case, Europe is absolutely worse. Because the U.S. is a very, very large country with several states. But take a look at how many people died in Spain, similar to how many people we saw die yesterday. So I'm just letting you know, like in the next coming weeks, we can likely see numbers percentage-wise where Spain is at as the crisis continues to escalate. Well, the last thing I want to mention is, I'll wrap this stuff up by saying it's time to take it seriously. Donald Trump just said one of the most sobering things I think I've ever heard, that this is going to be the worst we've seen in 2 or 3 weeks. Is the media going to call him a liar now? No. They're dragging him for not saying it sooner. I'm so sick of it, man. Daily Mail, But Trump is going to be sending 500 troops to the Mexican border to aid agents struggling with security efforts amid the coronavirus fight. And this, I find alarming. I think we're in serious danger right now. We've got this aircraft carrier that's full. Many of the U.S. military servicemen on it are sick. And so we are being crippled in many ways. Our economy is shut down. We've got border security issues. We've got a serious struggle to keep things going properly, I should say. Meanwhile, we see videos coming out of Oakland where people are partying in the street, videos of people on the beach in Florida, videos of people in New York all rushing to take photos of this hospital ship that was coming in, forming large crowds because no one seems to take it seriously. This is one of the largest vulnerabilities of a free, loving, liberty-minded state. We don't want to lock people in their homes. We don't want to barricade or weld their doors shut. We don't want to throw them in camps. In fact, that would be unconstitutional, and it's horrifying to think, and that's why we criticize China for doing it. So it's true. We absolutely give up security in exchange for freedom. Now, I happen to think that's a good thing within reason, but you can see the real vulnerabilities we face. For one, it's likely China's numbers are wrong, and it's much worse than they're letting on, and they have the ability to oppress their people. So when it comes to stopping people from gathering and spreading the virus, they can easily just barricade their doors shut because in their country, no one's going to stop them. The Communist Party is an authoritarian dictatorship. Even with that being true, there are estimates that China already has around 40 to 50,000 people dead. In the United States, we can't do this. And for good reason. I'm glad we can't. But recognize the vulnerability there. As young people and stupid people go out and party and dance and don't care and spread this, I think it's no surprise that we have more infected and more dead. Because we're one of the freest countries on the planet, and we give up our security to an extent in exchange for that freedom. So I'll tell you what, with rights come responsibility. A great comment that somebody posted in the super chat over on our podcast a couple days ago. So I personally don't want to get sick, so I'll stay home. I mean, it's easy for me. I work from home. I still have my job, so I understand that I'm in a privileged position. But I don't want to get sick, so I'm not going to go out. And I think I can say this for most people. If you don't care, if you don't take this seriously, then I guess you just do your thing within your constitutional rights to do your thing. It absolutely is worrying that we're seeing an expansion of the surveillance state. It's worrying that we're seeing, the First Amendment be trampled on, the right to worship, freedom of speech, and more importantly, the right to peaceably assemble, all being trampled on. But again, with rights come responsibility, and we're seeing the hospitals get overwhelmed. We've seen videos of nurses like crying, saying like, "What's happening? I don't understand." Being like left in a room by yourself as people die. Yeah, welcome to the medical profession, And don't ask me because I don't know. I'm not down there, but these people are certainly freaking out. So to all the people that just want to go party, it's the wrong decision, and you will get hurt. And don't expect me to pay for it. This is the universal healthcare problem. If you want to go out and party amidst a pandemic that has a decent mortality rate, and it's not like Ebola or anything, but I think in the U.S. it's between like 0.6 and like 1.3 or something, so it's relatively low compared to the rest of the world. Hey, we got good healthcare. But that means flattening the curve makes a lot of sense. But if you want to go out and party and then come to the hospital saying like, "Please help me," don't be surprised when people roll their eyes. But I'll tell you one worse. When the I'll tell you how it gets worse. When the hospital systems are overloaded, and you're that person who laughed and scoffed and licked a toilet seat, don't be surprised when the hospital tells you to get out. No, thank you. There are people who, through no fault of their own, are at risk of losing their lives, and you licked a toilet. And now you want us to take responsibility for the mistake you made? Nobody should die from this, and we want to save every life. But you have to understand there comes a point when the hospitals have no room. So I'll tell you what I think is possible. These young people who have laughed about it, there may come a time when one of these people gets sick, shows up to the hospital, and they say, I know who you are. We have no beds. I'm sorry. You have to go. And that's it. Worse still, for all these lefties, you need to realize it's very likely if we do not flatten the curve. It's really annoying hearing that over and over again. Flatten the curve. They say it a million times. I'm like, yeah, I get it. But it's true. If our hospital systems are overloaded, then do not be surprised when when these hospitals start implementing some kind of triage system for people who they think deserve it more. That to me is where it gets really scary. But what more do you expect of hospitals with no space and no capability, because healthcare is not infinite? There's a finite number of doctors. They can only work so many hours. They need to get paid. They need protective equipment. We need beds, ventilators. It is all finite. There will come a time when you will show up to the hospital and they will say, I have no room for you. And you'll say, why? And there will be a reckoning. There will be a reckoning for people who say, I paid my taxes, I did everything right, I worked a good job, I had insurance, and I was denied. And then you'll find that there were some people who did none of those things. They were irresponsible. They partied. They were eating like crazy, not taking care of themselves, and they got that bed before you. I'm not saying it's right or wrong that people should or should be denied service. I'm saying people are going to recognize the harsh realities of the world. That's just how things play out. I'll see you all at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out.